When the Allies liberated the Nazi concentration camps, the world saw unforgettable images: mountains of shoes, eyeglasses, and human hair. But beneath that visible horror lay a different kind of plunder. It was an operation born not just of hate, but of a cold, calculating greed to extract every last cent of value from human beings, even after they were dead. This was a more intimate, more ghoulish kind of theft, one that took place on a scale that's hard to wrap your head around. It was a systematic harvest, an assembly line of desecration that turned people into raw material. This wasn't random looting. It was an official operation ordered by Heinrich Himmler himself. A special group of dentists and their assistants were given a single, horrifying job: to pull the gold teeth from the mouths of over 1 million men, women, and children murdered in the camps. That gold wasn't just pocketed by guards. It was melted down, cataloged, and funneled directly into the Nazi war machine. This is the story of the devil's dentists and the chilling efficiency of a regime that saw a person's life as worthless, but the gold in their teeth as a valuable asset. So how does such a horrifying order even come to exist? To understand that, you have to get the dual nature of the Nazi regime. It was an ideology of pure annihilation, but it was also managed with the fanatical detail of a corporation. The Holocaust wasn't just a campaign of murder. It was an economic enterprise. And in this enterprise, nothing could go to waste. The order came straight from the top. On September 23, 1940, SS leader Heinrich Himmler first decreed that doctors should collect gold teeth from the dead, initially as part of the Action T4 euthanasia program. But it was on December 23, 1942, with the final solution in full swing, that Himmler made it a mandatory, systematic process across all concentration camps. A secret memo soon went out from the central office in Oranienburg to the commandants of every major camp: Dachau, Ravensbrück, and of course Auschwitz. The subject was simple: dental gold. The directive was clear. All gold from the mouths of the dead was to be collected, melted down, and delivered to the SS Economic and Administration Main Office, the WVHA, in Berlin. This wasn't an afterthought. It was a core part of the Nazi economic strategy. The regime was desperate for hard currency to buy war materials, and stolen gold, laundered through neutral countries, was a perfect source of untraceable cash. The order reveals a mindset that had moved far beyond persecution into total objectification. A person's life had no value, but the fillings in their molars had a market price. This mandate turned SS dentists from healers into resource extractors and established a production line where the final product, stripped from the jaws of the dead, was a steady stream of bullion for the Reichsbank. It was horror hidden behind paperwork, a crime against humanity disguised as accounting. The job of overseeing this gruesome harvest fell to the SS dentists. These weren't just rogue sadists. They were educated professionals, fully integrated into the camp system, who carried out their duties with chilling precision. At Auschwitz, the most infamous of all the camps, these duties were just another part of the daily operations. A key figure here was SS-Obersturmführer Willi Schatz. The son of a dentist, Schatz followed his father's path, joined the Nazi Party in 1933, and arrived at Auschwitz on January 20th, 1944. He was the second in command to the chief camp dentist. His role wasn't to commit murder himself, but to manage it. He was an administrator of Atrocity. Schatz oversaw the dental stations, managed the prisoner workers, and ensured the gold kept flowing. Post-war testimony would show that men like Schatz were on the selection ramps and knew exactly what their work was supporting. But the SS dentists couldn't do this alone. The sheer scale of the killing, sometimes thousands in a single day, required a much larger workforce. For that, the SS turned to the prisoners. Jewish dentists and dental technicians, stripped of everything, were forced into a horrific choice. They became the Zahn Kommando, the Tooth Commando. Working under the constant threat of death, stationed in the crematoria or the dental clinic, these prisoners were given pliers and buckets. Their task was to break open the jaws of their fellow victims to retrieve gold. Survivors like Benjamin Jacobs, who wrote The Dentist of Auschwitz, described the unimaginable horror of this job. Some tried to resist in small, desperate ways, pushing a gold crown down a victim's throat so it couldn't be found, or trying to sabotage the count. These tiny acts of defiance were the last flickers of humanity in a place designed to extinguish it. The dental clinic itself, in Block 21 of the main camp, was a place of surreal cruelty. It provided almost no real care to living prisoners. Its main purpose was industrial. Here, dentures taken from the dead were cleaned, sorted, and even refurbished for German civilians or SS families. It was a place where a person's last possessions were repurposed by their killers, their identities scrubbed away and replaced by inventory numbers. The process of extracting dental gold at Auschwitz was a masterclass in depraved efficiency. It was a tightly organized system, built right into the machinery of death. It began after the gas chambers fell silent. The Sonderkommando, Jewish prisoners forced to work in the crematoria, would remove the bodies. Then the Sonderkommando moved in, working right there in the undressing rooms or outside the gas chambers. They went from body to body. With pliers, they broke jaws to extract gold teeth, bridges, and fillings, dropping them into buckets. It was a scene from hell, but conducted with the cold focus of an industrial process. Speed and thoroughness were all that mattered. Every gram of gold was property of the Reich. From there, the gold was taken to a special room, where it was cleaned and then melted down in the camp's own foundry. All of these intensely personal items, a crown a person had lived with for years, a filling a family saved for, were tossed into a crucible and heated until they became an anonymous molten liquid. The gold was then poured into molds to create small, uniform ingots. These ingots were weighed and meticulously catalogued. Records smuggled out by the Auschwitz resistance showed an astonishing output. By early 1944, the camp was collecting 10 to 12 kilograms of gold per month from teeth alone. One report from June 1944 mentioned 40 kilograms of gold and other metals in just the previous month. Over its entire operation, Auschwitz alone may have yielded as much as 6 metric tons of dental gold. The entire production line was built on one principle: the victims were not people. They were ore to be mined. The SS were just overseeing the extraction of valuable elements, turning the mouths of the dead into the first stop on a supply chain that fueled a genocide. The journey of the dental gold didn't end at Auschwitz. The ingots were packed and sent to the SS Economic and Administrative Main Office in Berlin, the WVHA. Headed by a man named Oswald Pohl, the WVHA was the financial engine of the SS empire, and this gold was its fuel. Under a program codenamed Action Reinhardt, an SS captain named Bruno Melmer delivered the gold from the camps directly to Germany's central bank, the Reichsbank. There, the gold from the victims' teeth was mixed with gold looted from the central banks of conquered nations. To erase its horrific origins, it was remelted and stamped with fake pre-war dates. This laundered gold became a critical part of the Nazi war effort. It was sold to neutral countries, especially Switzerland, for hard currency like Swiss francs. That money was then used to buy essential war materials on the global market: tungsten, oil, anything needed to keep the war going. So, a gold filling from a schoolteacher in Poland or a child in Hungary was transformed into a tank shell or airplane fuel. The wealth of the victims was literally used to fund their own people's destruction. After the war, what happened to the men who ran this system? Oswald Pohl, the head of the WVHA, was tried at Nuremberg, convicted of war crimes, and executed. But many of the lower-level men got away. Willi Schatz, the second SS dentist at Auschwitz, was captured by the British but released in 1946. He went back to Hanover and opened a private dental practice. He wasn't brought to court until the Frankfurt Auschwitz trials in the 1960s. Despite photos placing him at the selection ramp, Schatz denied everything. The court acquitted him in 1965, citing a lack of definitive proof. He died a free man in 1985. His story is a chilling reminder of how difficult it is to get justice when a crime is so vast and systemic. The story of the Devil's Dentists isn't just a grim footnote to the Holocaust. It cuts to the very heart of the Nazi regime, showing how ideology and greed were twisted together. It reveals how mass murder became a state-sponsored business. This operation was the final act of dehumanization. It was a declaration that a human being could be reduced to the sum of their marketable parts. Their hair could become felt, their ashes fertilizer, and the gold in their teeth could buy weapons. It was a system that didn't just seek to kill, but to consume. Remembering these specific stories of the prisoner dentists, of the bureaucrats like Willi Schatz, of gold's journey from a human mouth to a state bank is vital. They stop us from seeing the Holocaust as some single, incomprehensible event. They show it for what it was, a series of calculated, documented actions carried out by individuals who made choices. They chose to participate, to manage, and to profit. And in the face of all that, prisoners made their own impossible choices: to resist, to survive, and to bear witness so that we would one day know the truth. The story of the dental gold is quiet and chilling, but it speaks volumes about the methodical nature of evil. And for the sake of our own humanity, it's a story that must never be forgotten. If you believe these stories are vital for understanding our past and safeguarding our future, please consider subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the shadows of history. Your support helps ensure these lessons are not lost to time.